The Vortex Razor HD Gen 3 6-36 by 56 is not only difficult to say in one line, it's also an incredibly clear, robust, and brilliantly bright long-range optic. One that I've had a tremendous amount of success with when mounted on this FN America SCAR 20. With the Gen 2 only a few years old, I'm sure some of you are wondering, do I really need this scope? Well, we take a closer look at the Vortex Razor HD Gen 3 6-36 by 56 and find out. Now, my journey to the Razor HD began when the folks at FN America sent me a SCAR 20S NRCH in 6.5 Creedmoor. The SCAR 20S is a true precision rifle and one that requires top-tier glass to truly maximize its efficacy. After all, if I can't properly see my target, how can I expect to actually hit it? So I chose one of the biggest, baddest Vortex optics available, the Razor HD Gen 3 6-36 by 56. And see the targets I did. Holy smokes. True to the Razor's lineage, the newest edition of the optic is both crystal clear and absurdly bright in all but the darkest conditions. So much so that during the first range session with this dynamic duo, I successfully kept engaging targets only a few minutes before official sunset. And if you've ever hunted deer in failing light, you're undoubtedly familiar with the importance of light reception in an optic, because few things are as frustrating as not being able to take a trophy buck because your glass isn't bright enough to take an ethical shot. But there's more to an optic than just magnification, clarity, and brightness. So let's take a closer look at some of the Razor HD's features. First and foremost, the Razor HD uses a first focal plane EBR-7D reticle that, as the name implies, never changes its scale. So both your core reticle and all the subtensions function identically regardless of magnification. This is ideal for long-range shooting, where shooters don't just need more magnification, but proper, consistent holdovers and reticle data. Secondly, the Razor HD Gen 3 features Vortex's patented L-Tec Plus Zero system. This system consists of a set screw secured turret cap that allows a shooter to dial in the proper dope for their cartridge and range, and then quickly return to their original zero without fear of disrupting that zero. In fact, I would argue that it would be next to impossible to accidentally ruin the scope zero once that set screw is properly secured. Now, another nice aspect of the turrets is the fact that they allow the shooter to set a proper zero of the scope between clicks. This allows shooters to make sure their rifle is zeroed as close as humanly possible for a specific range and cartridge. This is especially important for long-range shooting, since a 100-yard zero that is off by even a quarter inch translates to missing by nearly a foot at 2,000 yards. Now, on the outside, the new Vortex HD Gen 3 features ArmorTek Nano-Coating to prevent both corrosion and damage to the scope's body during transportation or hard use. And speaking of which, the new Vortex HD Gen 3 is fog, shock, and waterproof, so shooters can rest assured that their new Vortex Razor is just as tough as it looks. Other features include an illuminated reticle powered by a single CR2032 battery, an included sunshade, and an aircraft aluminum body built in Japan. But enough about the features of the new Vortex. How did it actually perform? I first installed it on a Benelli M4 shotgun and fired 50 rounds of 1-ounce slugs through the gun, as well as 50 rounds of 3-inch Magnum Goose loads. I did this because these rounds tend to impart a tremendous amount of recoil impulse on an optic, and on cheaper options can cause a loss of zero. But this wasn't the case at all with the Vortex. The Razor HD Gen 3 held up flawlessly, with the zero remaining perfectly consistent after all those rounds fired. After the Benelli, I then mounted the Vortex on my SCAR 20S NRCH, and again, the zero was perfect. But to make sure the scope wasn't just rock solid, but also that its turrets worked great, I performed a box test on it. For the uninitiated, a box test is where a shooter fires 5 rounds on their original zero, then adjusts that zero up by 5 MOA, fires 5 more rounds, then does the same to the right, down, and then finally back left to the original zero. If the turrets are working fine, the group should form a perfect box with each corner exactly 5 MOA apart. And again, the Vortex passed with flying colors. So, is it worth it? With an MSRP of just shy of $3,000, the new Vortex Razor HD Gen 3 is by no means cheap, but it's not designed to be. Instead, the engineers at Vortex built an ultra-durable, ultra-clear precision rifle optic with every feature a PRS shooter could ever want. So is it really worth it? Well, it's a very, very clear optic. And if you intend to engage targets beyond 500 yards, it will be tremendously useful. If the majority of your shooting will be limited to 100 yards at a range, shooting paper targets at a known distance that aren't moving, then probably not the best investment. But if you need to accurately and reliably place rounds on distant targets and dial in your dope and make sure that your zero is absolutely rock solid, there's not many better options on the market than the Vortex HD Razor. Thanks, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, for MON TV, I'm Jim Grant, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.